Hello and welcome to the IDFPR webinar to discuss remote examinations. My name is Rob Finney. I'm the acting supervisor of the credit union section. Let me get started by saying we appreciate the turnout today as we've had over 90 requests to participate. We're glad you've decided to join us and making this as much of a seamless transition as possible. Examiner Pam Steele and our office coordinator Tim Marley are helping to present and facilitate the webinar with me today. I have a few housekeeping items I'd like to run through before we get started. We intend on keeping this discussion at 1 hour, which will hopefully leave plenty of time for questions throughout the presentation. Sorry about that, everyone. We had a mute difficulty there. We intend on keeping this discussion at 1 hour, which will hopefully leave plenty of time for questions. I'd like to ask everyone to please keep your mute on, except for me. If you have a question, please type it into the chat window. We'll be taking periodic breaks to address those questions. You can activate the chat function by hovering over and clicking the round chat button towards the bottom of your screen. Please address the chat text to everyone so others can see the question to hopefully prevent asking the same questions. If you're calling in, you can email your questions to Tim Marley at tim.w.marley@illinois.gov. Just to give you a quick snapshot of our office, we currently have 12 examiners, one of which is a full-time quality control review examiner. We have 2 office coordinators and 1 supervisor, so that's 15 people at the credit union section. All of our examiners are working remotely, including myself. I did want you to know, however, one of our office coordinators, Tim Webb, has returned to the office full-time to answer phone calls during office hours and process mail on a daily basis. We began the remote examinations on March 16th. And while we've had experience completing sections of an examination remotely, we had very little experience in completing the entire exam remotely. Needless to say, this has been a learning experience for all of us. A question many of you may have right off the bat is whether it's possible for our examiners to go on site. To limit exposure of credit union staff and DFI staff, we're limited to completing the entire exam remotely. However, recently, we've been given permission to pick up and drop off items at a credit union location. So while we have that as a secondary option, we're unable to stay and conduct reviews at the credit union. Obviously, during these pickups and drop-offs, we'll be wearing masks, practicing social distancing, all the CDC guidance. We've found over the last 5 months that several credit unions have encountered some difficulty providing documentation to our examiners, and we wanted to provide an alternative as to not disrupt your day as much as possible. But let me stress, the best practice is to complete the entire exam remotely with all documentation being delivered electronically and all communication being done via telephone, email, or virtual meeting. As of now, the DFI has not set a date for examiners to return to the field to conduct examinations. I also spoke to ASI and NCUA yesterday. They also have not released a date to have their examiners return to the field full time. The remote examination transition is made possible by having systems in place to deliver documents securely through either the NCUA portal or the Illinois File Transfer website. Pam Steele will be discussing those systems directly and addressing questions you may have. So right now I'd like to turn it over to Pam Steele. Pam?
Hi, thank you, Rob. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Rob, could you give me an acknowledgement, please?
I sure can, Pam. I had my my on mute, so we can hear you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So again, I'm going to go through all these steps to kind of show everyone what to do, hopefully answer some questions. If you do have questions, please provide them in the chat area. I'll stop periodically to see if there are any questions and we can answer them. And then at the end, we can open it back up for all questions concerning all areas. So the exams, the remote exams are risk focused and they're based on areas of concern. So if your credit union is having a lot of accounting issues, then there are certain items that we are going to need to do, but we will also be doing a further review of the accounting area. So as before, the items needed list will be emailed to you probably about a month in advance. The lists are to be tailored to the remote exam process. The requested items must be uploaded to either the NCUA portal or the files share prior to the exam start date. And any questionnaires that have been asked to be completed by you must be completed and also uploaded prior to the exam date. The examinations are taking longer. They're taking approximately 1 to 2 weeks longer because there is additional time needed for the credit union to upload any additional items that are requested by the examiner during the examination process. Also, the time needed to download the items causes a delay. We have to download each document one at a time unless the documents are zipped. And then for us to be able to locate a specific item for the area that we're reviewing within the portal is a little bit difficult because it's not really set up in any particular way other than by date that it was uploaded. And then of course, waiting communication. So how can we decrease the examination time? You can upload zipped documents. So you can either upload all the documents in one zip file or put them in categories opposed to uploading individual documents. Because if you upload individual documents, you're going to also have to do that one at a time. And it's a very, very time consuming process. Adequately describe the documents that you uploaded. So if you're uploading the allowance account, please label it allowance account. Or if it's according to the items needed list and it's a number, then please reference the number so it's easier for us to find items. Upload the items to corresponding folders. If the examiner has set up individual subfolders within the large folder, such as accounting, lending, policies, etc., then it makes it easier for us to identify those items that we need to review if it's in the subfolders. Ensure all requested items are uploaded prior to the exam start date. Maintaining contact with the examiner. In other words, if we call or we send an email, please periodically check for those and answer our questions or make comments or ask us questions so that we can get through the examination process quicker. And then, of course, if you're in a larger credit union, then you can identify one particular staff person who will be responsible on your end for uploading questions, or excuse me, uploading additional documents or answering our questions so it doesn't tie everyone up. The examiner management to require contact during the examination process. Again, if you identify a specific contact person, sometimes it can make it easier. But of course, we will be doing contacts via email and phone calls as needed. Now, a couple of my examinations that I've done remotely, we found what works pretty efficiently is that we'll set up calls on a particular time during the week, like on a Tuesday and Thursday, let's say at 10 o'clock. And at this time, everyone does a conference call. We ask questions of one another, ask for clarifications, give updates, or identify any concerns. That seems to work pretty well for my examinations. Maybe it'll work for yours too. It's something to consider. Each examiner also has the capability to do a WebEx meeting, just like we're doing now, so that you can see my screen, and then we can push it over to you so that you're the presenter, and then we can see your screen so that you're able to show us stuff on your screens. The exit and board presentation. It's not going to be in person. It's going to have to be conference call or some type of WebEx meeting, or perhaps Zoom or something else. So the exchange of information for the examination. Do not send documents with private identifiable information via unsecured means, such as unsecured emails, Google Documents, Dropbox, etc. As Rob stated earlier, you and IDFPR will have access to 2 different methods for secure information exchange: the NCUA portal, which is encrypted, and also the Illinois government transfer file, which is also encrypted. For technical issues with departmental permission, the examiner can go to the credit union, but only long enough to pick up or drop off examination items. And of course, all CDC guidelines must be followed. So are there any questions as to the examination process at this time?
Thanks, Pam, for taking that break. I appreciate it. We've had just one question show up in the chat window, and that was whether slides will be available after the call. Yes, they will be, and we will give more information on that after your part of the presentation is over with. So thanks for taking a break. That's all we have so far. Oh, I'm sorry, we've got another one that just came in.
Okay.
What time frame are you looking for documents to be loaded prior to the exam?
Well, obviously for us, sooner the better. Than if we have opening, we can start the examination process. So anytime after given permission, you can actually start documents.
All right. Thanks, Pam. That's all we have for now.
Okay. Now we're going to discuss the NCUA secure. I believe most of the examiners are using the NCUA transfer portal, even if you are insured by ASI instead of NCUA, because it is pretty easy to use. So what happens is that the examiner will contact the CEO or whomever the contact person and ask you for the names and email addresses of people that you want to have access to the portal. Access as in being able to upload documents or potentially download documents. Again, this is a secure portal. So once the examiner receives an email with all the contact people who are to have access to the portal, the examiner will set up the folder and then give permission to each one of those people who has been identified. Once that is done, you and the designees will receive a verification email from the NCUA secure file transfer. The example or sample of the email content says, "You've been added to a workspace. Hi, CEO Lucky at creditunion.com. Pamela Steele has invited you to share a folder at A+ Webinar Credit Union, August 5th, 2020. So that's basically the exact same content that you should receive, with the exception of the email address to the individual designee. At that time, the designee, the person who receives those emails, needs to go in to create an account with a username and a password. Now, the passwords, there are certain requirements. It has to be a minimum of 12 characters, must contain at least 4 characters of uppercase, lowercase, numeric, and non-alphanumeric symbols. Cannot contain 5 or more characters from the username. It must not contain 3 or more repeating characters. It must not solely consist of a word in the dictionary. So if you're gonna, my recommendation is, if you're gonna use a word in the dictionary, instead of maybe using the letter L, use the number 1 in its place. So once you have set that up and you've given access to the portal, you need to look off to the left of the portal for your credit union folder in a section called Shared with Me. Okay, so hopefully you can see my cursor. Here's the left, and it's called Shared with Me. So here under Shared with Me is A+ Credit Union. Obviously, you're not going to have all these other folders in there, but it should be in this part. Do not use a folder under My Folders, and do not create anything under My Folders. Do not create a file folder, because if you put your documents in My Folder, none of the examiners or anyone else is going to be able to see what is in there. Only you will. And you'll say, I uploaded it, but it's in my folders. That does not help us. It has to be in the area called Shared with Me right here. So you would click on your folder, and then if the folder has subfolders, it'll pop up right here. This toolbar up here, this is the upload. So if you're gonna, when you go to upload documents to us, that's the symbol that you will need to use. So uploading the documents. Again, you're going to click on this area once you have clicked in on your folder. Click this, and then it's going to prompt you into identifying the documents. Now I'm going to repeat it something again. Make sure that the files are zipped. It makes it so much easier for everyone. It'll make it easier for you when you go to upload folders, and it'll make it easier for us when we go to download. My cursor, you will hit this button. It will prompt you just like you were going to attach a file to email. But remember, you can only do one at a time. You would hit the file document or the file zip folder that you created, and then it'll take some time. You'll see it'll say in progress, and there'll be one item. And then when it's done, it'll pop up right here. It'll show you the file that you just uploaded. Downloading. Oh, sorry. I need to remind you to make sure the document is named appropriately. Zip all files. Unzip files take longer to upload and download. Again, you can only do one at a time. And I have had to spend over an hour downloading numerous documents because it does take a long time to download, and I assume it probably takes just as long to upload those documents. So again, it is very important to try to zip up those files before you upload them. Downloading. Here's the toolbar again. Now, when you go to download, when there's actually a document in there, you will see that there will give you an option to download right there, the arrow going down. So then you can retrieve something that we have put in there for you. You will have to go over to the document itself and click on it, and it'll turn that item purple. Then you hit the download button. Then there will be a prompt that says open or save. I always save them. Then the document will be saved to a download file on your computer where you can access it at a later time. If there are multiple documents for you to download, after you download that one, you will have to unclick it and then go to your next document and click that one and then hit download. If you do not unclick the first one before you click the second one, it will re-download the first one. So some things to also remember about the portal is that it automatically signs you out after a very small inactivity time. If there's a lot of people trying to access the portal, probably on a Monday morning or something, it may take a time or two to log in. If you do not set up your password and your username within a short amount of time after you receive that email, that verification email, it's not going to let you access the portal. If this happens, you need to send an email to your examiner asking him or her to please. That's why it's pretty important to try to make sure that you go and you set up your portal access with your username and password after you receive that invitation. And then if you don't go back to it for days or a week or two, that's fine. But don't wait a couple weeks and then go back to that invitation to try to get in, because it's not going to let you. And then, of course, for portal issues, if you're having more trouble than what you have went through, you'll need to call NCUA's One Stop. Do you have any questions regarding the NCUA portal?
Hi, Pam. It's Rob. We have not received any information or questions, I should say, on the NCUA Secure Transfer Portal. However, we do have a question about the frequency of status updates from our examiners during the exam.
Okay.
So,
As in,
how often can credit unions expect to hear from our examiners during the examination?
I am going to say that it will depend on each examiner and the areas that they're reviewing at the time. Sometimes examiners have to spend a lot of time in a particular area, and it's difficult to get interrupted in between there to try to make a contact and still try to work on that area. But what I would actually recommend is that perhaps you and your examiner have this conversation via email or on the phone prior to the commencement of the exam, and maybe go ahead and set up times and dates or days of the week that you would like to be caught up and have contact. Otherwise, it's quite possible the examiner, you might not even hear from the examiner until he or she needs additional documents or has a question, or if everything is there and we're just flying through everything, you might not even hear anything until it's over. But again, I would recommend trying to set up some kind of time that works for your schedule and also the examiner's schedule at the beginning of the examination process.
Okay, thanks, Pam. And just to remind everyone, we will have these slides available to anyone that requests them after the presentation. So I'll break in and let you know if we have any other questions. No more at this time. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, the second method of secure information exchange is with the Illinois Government File Transfer website. This slide identifies the website address. And this works more like an email, a secure email. And this is what it looks like. The screen will look like after you put in that email, or excuse me, that website address. This screen will pop up. And there's basically 4 steps in order to do it. Unfortunately, it's a little bit more limited than the portal, and we can't go back and retrieve the information after a certain amount of time. So again, that's why we prefer the portal, but it's actually, if it's actually impossible for you to use the portal or too difficult or whatever, then this is another option. So step 1, identifying the recipients. You're going to have to know the email address of the recipient so you can put it in the, let me go back up. So you can put it in the recipient's email address area, step 1. You can have more than one person. So if it's a joint exam, you can email it to the IDFPR examiner and also the NCUA examiner. So all you have to do is separate them with a comma. Then the maximum number of downloads, how many times you can send it, is 10. You're going to put in your email address. Make sure that you enter it correctly, because you need that. You will be receiving an email confirmation about your upload once it's finished. Select the files. Again, it's just like an email address, or excuse me, a regular email that you're going to attach a file to, or even the NCUA portal when you're uploading. You're going to select the file. You're going to use the browse button. Let me go back up. right here. It'll give you the browse button. And then it'll give you a choice to add more, and you can add up to 5 files, 5 documents, or 5 zip files. If you're going to need more than 5, you're going to have to zip up those or go back to that website again to redo the whole process. And then you have to remember to mark that box at the beginning. So let me go back up. That box is right here, the acknowledgement after the first paragraph. And then you're going to hit the send button. After you hit the send button, do not close out that web page until after you receive the smiley face. It says, yay, file successfully uploaded. At that time, you're finished. And then you can check your email box for confirmation that the email was sent to the examiner or examiners. There is a message area. You probably saw. Let me go back up. Right here, right above the number 4, message. That's purely optional. I don't even think I know anyone who really fills out that area, but if you want to leave a little message for the examiner, please do so. The important things to remember is that the upload time can vary drastically depending upon the size of the file. So it may take a little while. And you can only upload 5 files at a time. And there are only 10 downloads allowed per uploaded file. So the most important thing to remember, which is what I alluded to earlier and completely different from the NCUA portal, is that that file will expire. It'll be gone after 5 days. So in this instance, if you're going to use the Illinois government transfer file, if your examiner is not ready to receive the information, let's say that they went on vacation, if we could all go somewhere, or perhaps they're working on another exam and they don't have time to download it, if you send that information before they're ready and then they try to do that a week later, it's going to be gone. And you're going to have to redo the whole process because it's purged. So you need to make sure that the examiner is ready to receive the information if you use the Illinois government file transfer. Are there any questions or comments? That's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pam. Appreciate that. I just wanted to comment on the Illinois transfer website is that either the recipient or the receiver has to have an illinois.gov email address. It can't be sent to any personal emails. It has to have at least one person be from illinois.gov. We have had one other question come in, and that is, will our examiner be able to help us when we get stuck on something on the portal, or do we have to ask someone else? And our examiners have now been using the portal for 5 months, and they should be able to answer your questions. We also have an instruction manual on how to use the NCUA portal. We'll also be sending out this presentation to everyone that's participated today, so we won't need a request. We'll just do it automatically later on. We have another question. Do we get to select which portal we use, or are you expecting both portals to be used? We've provided the option here for you to choose, whichever is easiest for you. I think if we had a preference, Pam, which would it be that the exam staff or the credit union staff use?
I would say that it would be the NCUA portal because it leaves it in there for a period of time before that information becomes purged. And that way, if multiple people need that particular document or something, it's easy for us to go back in a few days later or during the exam process, even if it's the first day to the last day, and it's still there and it can be accessed very easily by other examiners. So I would say the NCUA portal would be our preference and actually works best.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
Let me check in with our emails to see if we've received any emails. Okay, we have none at this time. We have one other question, Pam. For joint exams with the NCUA, how should we save documents that we know both the NCUA and the IDFPR will need to review? For example, the call report.
So you could just name it as the call report and put it in there, and then that way we both get to see each other's documents. So we can both go and identify that and both download it, and so that we can both review different areas of it. It's not exclusive to one another. When we set it up, we always give each other full access to everything. So you don't have to upload things twice.
Thanks, Pam. I just thought of one other question that we may want to address here is whether an ASI credit union can use the NCUA portal for our examinations.
To my knowledge, they can use that portal. We just have to have that particular ASI credit union, or excuse me, that ASI employee's email address, and we would just give them access, and they would have to go through the same process as the credit union, setting up a secure username and password, and then they would have access.
Great, thanks. I'm just waiting now for any other questions that may be coming in. All right. Since we have no other questions, I would like to thank everyone for your participation today. And if you have further questions, please don't hesitate to email or give your examiner a call. But before I end things, we have one more question that just came in. And since we have time, do we need to let our examiner know which way we will be sending our files, or will they auto send the email request?
I'm going to say 99% of the time they're going to set up the portal for you. But if you're having trouble utilizing the portal, you can always use the file transfer from the state of Illinois.
Okay, thanks. Maybe I'll just give it one more minute here to ensure everybody's had a chance to ask their question. And once again, please reach out to your examiner or give the department a call, 217-782-2834 if you have any further questions. Besides sending the PowerPoint presentation to all our participants today, we do have a recorded version of this presentation. If you would like to have that, please email us and let us know. Since I don't see any more questions, I'll go ahead and conclude the presentation. And I want to thank Tim Marley for helping facilitate all the technological systems that we had, and Pam Steele for her time. And thanks to all of you. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you.